You know, it's so interesting because this last week has been really hard because days turned into nights and nights turned into days, and I really feel like, we are praying all the time, we are talking to people there. It's very hard, and something that I felt, I'm in no way, in no position in anything, but God kind of was speaking to my heart today, actually, to encourage me from the Esther story, that he positioned her in some place where he needed her for such a time as this. And again, for me, I feel like it was just more personally for me, because I was very discouraged this morning as I was communicating with our people there, and we have our staff right there in Kiev where the bombs are falling, and they are in the bomb shelters, and I've been literally begging them. I'm like, evacuate. Well, right now it's not even safe to evacuate. And I started getting these thoughts into my mind: what if I lose this person? This is the key person for our operations. This is a dear friend. And I was like, no, I rebuked those thoughts, and I was like, God, I feel like I was getting I don't like discouraged, because all of those days before, I was the one that I was cheering and saying, we will win. And then I'm seeing all this destruction that is happening right now. The cities are being bombed, the buildings are being bombed, people who I know losing houses, bombs falling on their houses, people losing lives, babies being born in bomb shells, just crying, and the bloodshed of children. And as I said, today it was so heavy on my heart, and then God showed this to me, and I said, okay, God, what do? I still don't know what I do, but what I know is Orphan Promise is so strategically positioned, because we've been in that country for 17, 18 years in Ukraine. We've also have work and contacts in all the surrounding countries, in Poland, in Hungary, in Romania. We've had people contacting us saying, how can we help? How can we receive refugees? We are coordinating these efforts. My family, my husband is actually coordinating efforts for us with this, because he was coordinating for Orphan Promise the seed project, something to eat every day. Well, right now we need something to eat, both physically and spiritually, so he's involved. My children are praying. All of my relatives, some of my relatives are there. My mother-in-law, my husband's mother, is in Ukraine. She's in the safe zone, the city where we were born, and receiving refugees in her house. Our relatives there are fighting in prayers and in reality as well. We have friends who are and relatives who are on the front lines, and so it's just crazy time. While our two key people for our operations right now are still in Kiev, our regional manager for Orphan Promise for all of the former Soviet Union, her and her family are in her cellar, in her house outside Kiev. They've been receiving refugees literally up till today. They were like, no, of course we're not moving. We are so strategically positioned. They have been receiving people in their house, feeding them, and then sending them on west. Some have stayed with them, and and then they've helped. And then our other person who has been coordinating our Children of War projects, she is the manager coordinating all of our projects in the east, is also on the other side of Kiev as well, sitting in her apartment or house, and just in the bathroom, really doing operations from there, because that's the safest place to be. And today I literally said to both of them, it's an order, get out. Well, they have families, they have things they are trying to figure out. So literally right now it's the night there, and at night is when the bombing goes on. So they are sitting, they've been spending nights in their cellars, in the bomb shelters,
so they can't leave.
Praying. They can't leave, but I said, be ready to leave tomorrow at 8 as soon as the curfew is over. Just get on the road. The hard part about getting on the road is that there are a lot of military in the near Kiev. That's what the reports are saying, and those are verified reports. When Russian tanks and the advances are being bombed, the soldiers are running away into the woods, and they are without any provision. Those boys, you also have to feel for them. Those young soldiers, well, they are hungry. What they are doing then, they are meeting the cars with refugees, and they have weapons, and so they steal their food, they threaten, and so it's not even safe to be on the road. But I said, get as soon as tomorrow morning, as soon as it's possible, please get out, because we know that Kiev is the target, and you are in the target. We have one of our staff, our administrator, she's in the shelter underground in metro with 50 of her neighbors, and she's like, well, I at least feel safe here. She's not married, and she's like, I don't have family, where am I gonna go? So I'm just sitting here, we're in the underground, hoping that the city won't be bombed completely. So on Sunday, and I think for me personally, it was like the reality hit it, because we lost our first child from our training center. He was 19 years old, so he went and volunteered. Then they still were not drafting them mandatory, but all of our older kids, all who were 18 and over, the boys and either volunteered to go to the front lines, or they are helping in the...
So he was killed in battle.
He was killed in battle, yeah. And it's very sad to lose. You're thinking they still have so much life. And somebody told me, well, at least he knew Jesus, and he was part of, because he was part of your center, so you played a role in his life. And that's so true, and he's probably in a better place, but it's still so hard, you know. I mean, I have a 20-year-old daughter, and I'm like, no, I mean, these kids shouldn't be dying. They should be still playing, and the whole life is in front of them, and instead... Well, as I said, today was my down day. Up till now, I kept saying, you know what, God will show himself strong. And today I really had to stand on my faith for that, when before I was feeling it. And the whole week, as I said, with everything, in spite of Kharkiv being bombed, in spite of all of these advances and hearing all the bad news, we are hearing so much good news from the field as well. You know, we are asked, please continue praying, because we are seeing miracles, you know, both from the front lines and our people who are receiving refugees, or our people whom we are still evacuating today. They are saying miracles are countless, in how God will let them go through the enemy lines unnoticed, with loads of children and people in the cars, and you know, just miracles, and how God opens the doors or closes the eyes of the enemy, how shells don't explode when they hit things next to them, you know, just miracles by miracles. So I was standing really strong, as I said, until today. And today I feel like, just because it's when the people who you know, who you're close with, again, I mean, those two women I mentioned, they are my closest friends. Honestly, we've shared life together, we've traveled together, we've counseled each other in hard times, and I've known both of them for almost 20 years, each of them. And now knowing that they literally, I let that thought, well, what if? I mean, one of them said yesterday the bomb exploded 300 meters from her house. I mean, that's just, you know, a miracle that they are still alive. It didn't hit their house.
Right now they're both in a bomb shelter.
And they're both right now in the cellars of their houses, just underground, just because, you know, because the shelling is going on. And so, as I said, that thought creeped in, and I just literally had to pull all of my faith. And that's what I heard. And I feel like maybe in the history, you know, again, it's like, you know, Jewish people were so small back then, you know, in the book of Esther, they were so small and so unnoticeable, but God used it to bring glory to his name. And so that's what I'm standing on right now, and claiming that God will use, in spite of all odds, in spite of, you know, whose report are you gonna believe? So today I choose to believe that God is going to show off, and he's gonna make justice rule, and he's gonna repay for the injustice to those who need to be repaid, but he is going to bring his glory to his name himself. Because honestly, everybody is asking, I'm asking, how can we help? And there is a lot of help that's visible, that's needed. You know, there are people who are wounded, so, you know, medical help, bandages, food, people are starving, people had to leave their homes with nothing. Literally, some of them couldn't even grab their documents because the house was already burning, or it was just so quick, they didn't have the document at home. And so we've evacuated kids and people. In the West, it's still safe, but now we've reworked all of our work, repurposed it, so we are receiving refugees. All of our classrooms and transition homes, everything, we just have mattresses on the floor, and people are being received there. So there is a lot that's needed as far as humanitarian aid is concerned.
For Orphan Promise.
Well, for Orphan Promise and for other organizations, thank God there are many relief organizations that are doing this. And again, Orphan Promise, we have been, that's why I feel like God spoke to me about for such a time as this, because a couple months before, we actually have gotten some prophecies from our people in the field and requests, and they were saying, can you send us your budgets? Can you send us our budgets ahead of time for a couple of months, budgets for our budgeted projects, because we feel that we need to prepare to receive refugees. This is back in December, and you know, from one of our projects, because the war has been going there for for 8 years, and the talks have started, and they were saying, can you send us money? Can we please buy mattresses? Can we buy generators? Can we stock up non-perishable food? And because we have such a trusting relationship, and because we've been working there for 17 years, we have sent them their budgets ahead of time, and they bought up those stuff and they stock up. So this is such, again, another miracle and praise report that we were ready to receive the people, and they are ready right now. They have food to feed them. We're getting pictures, in the store shelves are empty.
How many refugees do you think you're taking care of right now? Roughly?
It changes literally by hour. It is in thousands, because we've had 19 centers and 5 transition homes. Plus we have over 250 projects there, partnerships with local churches and local organizations. And so all of them are now in the West, where it's safe, revamped to receive refugees. And people are coming in, a lot of times stopping in just for an hour or two, because they would have been traveling for 3 days, and they're going west to Poland or to Hungary. So Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Ternopil, all of that, the western part that's right now still being safe from bombing, they all revamped, and we are getting videos and pictures daily. And again, some stay longer, and some actually stay and help. They become volunteers on our centers. Some just get some help and go on. But we receive literally like thousands every day, and are helping. So as I said, help is needed there because our supplies are running out. So we need to replenish it, and we need to do this. But right now for Ukraine as a whole, and that's a big prayer request, and also, talk to your politicians. I don't know, I don't really know how to get it done, but we need to close the airspace, because it's the bombs, so if the European Union steps in, NATO steps in, and, so the airspace over Ukraine is closed, because otherwise they're gonna wipe the country off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
We can't let that happen, because these are innocent lives. So the big prayer request for that is, let's stop the bombing. Let's stop this innocence. Somehow, let's raise our prayers, and let's make our voice to be heard, that this bombing stops, that these attacks stop, the life loss is stopped. We know we will have still work to do for months because of all the destruction, because of all of the stuff that happened, but we pray that there is a country that we can come back and rebuild, that country is still on the map, and that, it's so hard for me to say. I never thought that I would be in the position to say this, and right now I just stand on the faith in God, because He's the only one who can make this happen. Because the reality of it not being here tomorrow is very real.